Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Home Tech. I'm Seth Johnson, and joined as always by Jason Griffin. Jason, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Seth. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. It's been a long week, and it's only Wednesday.
Only Wednesday.
Yep. The hump day.
It's always it always does feel like a milestone in the week when we sit down to record these shows. So look forward to sharing this one with our audience, just like we always do. I think we've got a good show tonight. Interesting interview, actually. Sean Miller, president of Point Central, and Point Central is a sort of a unique company in this space in the sense that they are selling what amounts to smart home solutions to a very different market, property managers. And it was really fun to talk to Sean, learn about their offering, learn about some of the unique challenges that they face in working in that market, as opposed to just selling a product direct to a homeowner. A lot of different nuances to that market and a lot of different things you got to think about. And so really enjoyed having a conversation with Sean, again, from Point Central. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Before that, like we normally do, we're going to jump into a number of news stories here. Another busy week in the smart home. So we've got some things that I'm really, Seth, looking forward to discussing with you. And we'll jump into that momentarily here. But before we do that, we want to, as we normally do, give a big thanks to our patron supporters, supporters of the show here at HomeTech.fm. And these are people that have gone over to our page that you can learn more about at HomeTech.fm/support. Once again, that's HomeTech.fm/support. And that's how you can learn about supporting our efforts here at HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. We really appreciate all of the people that have gone and done that already, and would encourage you, if you enjoy the show, to go check that out.
Yep, absolutely. I want to reiterate our thanks and say thank you also to everyone who's following along in the live chat. That you don't have to be a patron for. There's a web page over there at a link over on our website for the live stream, and you can listen and go ahead and chat in the chat room. But it's tied in to our Slack as well. So if you are a member of the Slack channel, you have access to that, and kind of like bring the two communities together and hopefully have some decent conversation added to the conversation that we're having.
Yeah.
It's always really cool to see that happen. So
yeah, no, it's great. Yeah. And just to sort of put a bow on that and summarize, which I failed to mention, I'm glad you brought it up, Seth. If you do become a patron of the show, again, for as little as $1 a month, you can get an invite. You will, I should say, get an invite to our private Slack channel, The Hub, which has really grown into a fun community of smart home enthusiasts and professionals, and we just have some really great dialogue over there. So one last time, HomeTech.fm/support if you're interested in learning more about that. But let's jump in here to our headlines for the week. First one, we want to come right out of the gate with Amazon has officially unveiled the touchscreen Echo Show. After rumors circling all week, Amazon has officially lifted the curtain on the Echo Show. This product includes a 7-inch touchscreen. The device will sell for $229, is available for pre-order now, and will begin shipping on June 28th. A couple of the quick points about this one. It does video and voice calling, will reportedly connect and display with Wi-Fi cameras, as well as display video from popular streaming sources, weather, recipes, that sort of thing. So an interesting looking product from Amazon. I think a pretty natural extension of the Echo family, and I'll be very, very curious to see how this does out in the market.
Yeah, we saw pictures of this leak like a week ago or so, and it looks just as ugly as the pictures. Really, the exact pictures. It's not very pretty. I showed Erica, my wife, what this thing would look like when we first saw the leaks come out, and she said that's ugly. So I agree. It's not the prettiest thing. They did not. I mean, I think the like the Echo, I think those look great. I mean, they're like subtle. They sit off to the side. This thing is I don't know, like a 1980s version of a like fancy video phone or something. I don't know. It's very strange. It kind of reminds me of like a couple of years back, Sony had something similar to this, where it was a horrible little like touchscreen / stock market thing that you could set up a couple of apps on, and I had a couple clients have them, and I remember setting these disastrous things up, and they would they would get random updates, and then finally Sony just, how Sony does, they just give up on something and it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah,
but I don't know, the killer feature, I guess the feature that people are really talking about now is the voice and video calling, which is built into this thing because it has a touchscreen. But I think you can also call out to the Amazon apps on your phone, like the Alexa apps on your phone, and the other devices. So you can do like voice calls over to an Echo, which seems kind of interesting to me. This could be this could be the feature that actually gets somebody to go out and buy this thing.
Yeah, I think there was actually a pretty effective product demo video that Amazon put out around this release, and I thought it did a nice job of highlighting some of the use cases, and the video calling was obviously a very prominent one in that. I know a lot of people were talking about that, and I understand that's got people excited, and I think it makes sense. I can envision a number of useful scenarios for that. The one that they highlighted in the video was a fairly obvious one, I would say, in terms of being able to do a video call to like an elderly parent or grandparent or something, right? Where FaceTime, things like this might be just one layer too many of technology. And if this thing is just, hey, drop in on grandma, boom, the call comes up. There's value there. I think that's kind of cool. It's a bit of a niche case, I think, quite frankly, but valuable nonetheless. I agree with your comment on the design. Alex Capisulatro is in the chat room tonight. Alex is from Josh AI. That name may sound familiar to you, and I think his first time here joining us in the chat room for a live show. So Alex, thank you so much for tuning in. And Alex had chimed in that he agrees that found the design a little bit weird, felt like it was off-brand, doesn't quite fit in with that Echo look. I have to agree with that. It actually calls to mind another article that we'll link in our show notes at HomeTech.fm/161 that was from 9 to 5 Mac. And, with the timing of this, it's interesting because there are rumors circulating about Apple finally coming to market with their, what we've been calling Siri in a can, which will essentially be the Echo competitor. And this article talked about how the author really hopes the Siri speaker, as he calls it, will be more Amazon Echo and less Echo Show, right? And what he's saying is sort of dismissing the touchscreen, makes a couple of interesting points in that article. One of the more unique points that I thought he made that personally I hadn't really thought of in this specific context is, the very fact that the Echo does not have a touchscreen really forces developers to optimize their apps for voice, right? You can't lean on that crutch of having a touchscreen. And I thought that was an interesting point. Moreover, he talked about just the aesthetics of it and how the Echo sort of disappears in place and you just don't even really notice it when it's sitting on the counter, and that just won't be the case with this device. With all of that said, I do think there are clear use cases where a touchscreen will really help augment that voice control functionality, and I think this will be, I think this will be useful to people. Like I said, and I genuinely mean this, I'm very curious to see how this does in the market at a $229 price point. Will it get the traction that we've seen with things like the Echo and the Echo Dot, and that'll be interesting to watch.
Right. And there's been a couple of like weird, I don't know. Did you get the drop in thing? Did you kind of think that was creepy? I've heard people saying the drop in. So let me describe this a little bit better, because the drop in thing is like, you can say, call Jason or whatever, and it'll go out and call you, and it'll ring like a normal, maybe like a Skype call or whatever, and say Jason's calling, and you can choose to answer it. But the drop in thing is a different thing where you can authorize certain people to drop in on you. And what that means is this thing doesn't, well, it kind of rings, but you basically makes a little chime noise. And then the person on the other end, you can see them, they can talk, and they'll just start talking. But then I think the video that I saw said something like, you can authorize it basically to do video, or if you're not decent, you're walking around in your birthday suit, you don't want to, let the other person see you. You can just use audio at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that? I think it's interesting, but probably not something I would use.
Yeah. I literally, the only place that I heard this discussed was in that promo video that I alluded to a minute ago, and like instantly, right when they said it, I was like, wow, that's really creepy. But they right away they addressed it in that video, and they said, if you're on the receiving end of one of these drop-in calls, you can basically choose to either answer it with just voice or to allow video. And so I don't know.
So it directly connects the voice. Like you don't, it's not really a choice. Like somebody connects in and then you just hear this voice coming from somewhere in your house, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I don't fully understand it, but I do agree on the surface. When I heard that, I thought it sounded a little bit odd. So we'll have to learn a little bit more about that. Again, Alex is chiming in here, and I want to point out what he's saying, because actually we wanted to mention here that Alex did a nice blog post, everything you need to know about Amazon's new Echo Show, over on medium.com. And so we'll be sure to include that in our show notes as well. And really interesting device. I think taking this product category that we've seen really have a ton of success without any sort of touch screen, and then taking it to that place. Like I said, I'll be really interested to see if the market latches onto it the way that it has the Echo. Right.
And if you're thinking this device is similar to a device we've talked about, there's an interesting story over on. Let's see, where did this come from? There's an interesting story over on CNET from the Nucleus guys who say, quote, they probably copied us. You remember this? Do you remember this product, Jason? I think you were looking at it at CES.
I do. Definitely.
So the CEO of Nucleus was asked, and Nucleus is a company that if you basically take the Amazon show, which, okay, side tangent, but I think the naming is genius. The Amazon show. Jason, you will never trigger anybody's Alexa by talking about this product anymore, right?
Oh, thank God.
We're all relieved. So back on topic. The Nucleus was actually a company who worked closely with Amazon. Amazon invested deeply into Nucleus and was able to have insights into the roadmap. Nucleus team found out the details that Amazon had basically taken the Nucleus, copied it, turned it 180 and flipped it around where the speaker's on the bottom instead of on top, and put out a very similar product, I think, because this thing looks almost, I don't know. I wouldn't say it looks almost exactly, but the features are very similar. I don't know what to think about this. I know that if you're Nucleus, you're probably not feeling very good to see Amazon.
You're definitely not. This is a pretty scathing quote here. Frankel, who is the CEO of Nucleus, and go look that product up if you haven't heard of it, because I know it's not a widely known product, but the similarities, at least from a functionality standpoint, are striking. And he says, they probably copied us when they had the opportunity to extend their tentacles into millions of homes. They had to do it, even if it means throwing us under the bus, even if it means putting their whole ecosystem at risk and letting people know that they're not necessarily a trusted partner. Ouch.
Wow. Yeah, that is that is a burn.
But when you're looking at it from Amazon's perspective, unfortunately, the harsh reality for Nucleus is they're very much just a blip on the radar. And I think this, as he alluded to, was an opportunity for Amazon as perceived by them that was probably too big to pass up. And who's to say? I mean, they may have had this product in the works before Nucleus, although I kind of doubt it. I mean, they were the biggest investor in Nucleus.
They were, but so I don't think that they were. And here's the reason why. A couple of weeks back, I don't know if we talked about it on the show. We may have mentioned it, but Amazon released it was about a month ago, I think. Amazon released a product called Amazon Chime, which was the kind of a business version of this. It was basically a competitor to Skype. And if you are an AWS customer, you can go in and enable Chime, and you can set up meetings and that kind of thing, and use video conferencing. It's basically for video conferencing that doesn't suck so bad. So we'll I think that this product was probably on the road for Amazon. I think it probably just kind of happened in tandem with the Amazon show, and I really feel bad for these guys. It's a 30-person company out of New York. They are probably going to be selling a lot less of their product in the Amazon marketplace now that there is a first-party competitor running alongside.
Yep, it is. It is unfortunate, and time will tell how that plays out. But like you said, I do feel bad for that team. All right, well let's shift gears here. We're gonna talk a little bit about streaming TV. This has been a big topic for us, and a big story announced this week. Reading here from sort of paraphrasing here from Digital Trends. After months of rumors, Hulu has announced a public beta version of its new live TV streaming service starting at a cost of $40 a month. Hulu's service will feature over 50 channels at launch. This includes all of the major networks, plus channels like ESPN, Fox Sports, CNN, CNBC, Food Network, HGTV, and more. Their base offering, which this is kind of cool, includes 50 hours of cloud DVR, and as a bonus, also includes a subscription to Hulu's premium on-demand service, which is typically $8 a month on its own. So a pretty nice offering here from Hulu.
Yeah, this is kind of weird. I mean, it's not weird, but this is the new norm. I think we're moving into this era where your cable service comes from apps and software companies rather than from a box that sits on your shelf. And Hulu is oh god. So they've recently updated their app to the Hulu Experience app, and I can tell you, by being a Hulu customer, the experience wasn't great before. It has gone to total garbage. I guess we're going to say poo later in the show. I'm going to say poo this time to give it a family show. But yeah, the new app is horrible. It is it's hard to navigate. It requires I don't know, to have like eyes that can see really thin lettering. I don't know. They just went a little overboard on the design, and it's very, very difficult to use and navigate and find episodes. Whereas before it wasn't that easy, but I imagine they were hoping that it would do a little bit better. If I have to get my
step backwards.
Yeah. If I have to get my TV from this app, no way. There's no way I'm using that. So I think these companies are going to have an interesting time ahead of them if they're trying to figure out they're trying to make like user interfaces really fancy when people just want to get in there, watch TV real quick. I think they're going to have to step back a little bit and realize that maybe the past couple of decades of using cable boxes and there may be something to that. Like people might be a little more used to that than they realize.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a risk from a design standpoint of taking that a little bit too far, but I think that's part of the learning curve right now for all of these companies. There's been so much movement in the space. I mean, I feel like we literally are talking about a new streaming service almost every week at this point, and so it's been really, really fun to watch. I think this is a big story from the perspective, you're talking about the user interface. Quite frankly, I don't have any direct experience with it, so I wasn't aware of that. But I think just from a business standpoint, I guess this seems like a big story. In fact, there was a story in the in Wired that talked about the significance of this and what some of the differentiators are between this and maybe some of the other streaming services out there. And we're not going to dive into that story in depth, but the gist of it was that Hulu is very well positioned in terms of the content deals that they have. They've got all of the major networks. They're really well positioned, and I thought it was a great read, and we'll have to include a link to that as well in the show notes. But go take a look at it. I think this streaming video landscape is getting increasingly competitive. I think it's going to take some time for some of this stuff to shake out and to figure out what works and what doesn't. To your point, Seth, maybe some of these user interfaces are getting a little bit too over the top, and they need to scale that back a little bit. But I got to tell you, I'll be digging into this pretty deeply not too long. My DirecTV contract is up here, I think in about 3 or 4 months roughly. And I've already sort of been talking to my wife about it, and we're probably going to take a hard look at cutting the cord, because our DirecTV monthly bill is honestly feels a little bit outrageous for what we really watch. And I think we're going to be joining the ranks of a lot of other people who have ditched traditional pay TV. In fact, there was another story I read this week. Pay TV had its worst Q1 subscriber losses ever, according to a new analyst report, reporting the, quote, carnage at a loss of 762,000 subscribers. So 762,000 subscribers in quarter one. Q1, according to this report, is actually in the past has been a good quarter for subscriber growth for TV companies. This compared to Q1 of 2016, in which these same companies lost only 141,000. So that's a 5x increase over Q1 of last year. That's a pretty staggering number.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I think this is the new trend moving forward, and you're going to see plenty of these companies like Time Warner and Comcast and all that try and get in there and bring on their own content delivery apps. I mean, really, the apps aren't that complicated. I mean, okay, I take that back. They are complicated. This is complicated software, but not something that's not unknown how to do. I mean, you're basically putting video on the internet, right? So it's not that part is kind of figured out at this point. It's basically the authorization and the billing that you have to worry about. And if that is the only hurdle to getting your content online, I really don't see it taking very much longer before so many more offerings are going to be out there at this $30 and $40 a month price point. My only worry is I think we're going to end up like $700, $800 a month on over the top content, right? I'm really worried about that.
That is the danger. Yeah, it's not like these offerings are free. And so you really do have to do your shopping. And that's a point that I've made numerous times on the show. And I think still, honestly, a barrier to entry for some people who aren't as technologically inclined and aren't willing to spend the time researching and doing their homework. You start looking at these offerings, and they're so widely varied and all over the place. I mean, you've got
and
offerings. Nuanced. Yeah, nuanced. That they include different channels. They work on different hardware. They've got different pricing models. The list goes on. And so it does take some time and some effort to sort through these things. But I think that's a good problem to have, right? The fact that there are a lot of options out there now, I think is really, truly driving a change. And to me, this has clearly emerged as one of the biggest stories so far of 2017.
Yeah, speaking of the hardware, for the past, we pay for Amazon Prime, as I'm sure most people do, or if you don't, you probably should, because you get all sorts of really cool stuff besides free shipping. For what, $100 a year? It's not very much. The Amazon Prime, you also get videos, and we've been paying for that, and we have shows and all sorts of fun stuff that you can get through that Prime Video. But since it doesn't work on my Apple TV, we often forget about it. And the other day I spent some time programming our remote to operate, guess what? Our TV, which has a nice, perfectly working Amazon Prime app to kind of load up and do its thing. But good news is I hear there is a rumor that Apple TV may be getting the Amazon Prime Video. Maybe they've resolved their differences or whatever, but I heard it was going to be later in this year, maybe Q3 later on. So hopefully I'll be doing that, and I can just use one box to rule them all. It'd be great.
Yeah, I saw that story. It was originally reported by Recode, and according to people close with the two companies, it looks like the companies may be burying the hatchet around Q3 of this year.
It's about time.
Yeah, this has been kind of an ongoing story because there was. I can't remember when this was, Seth, but we talked about it, that Amazon pulled Apple TV off of their digital shelves, and I don't know if that will change now in light of this deal. Maybe relationships between those two companies are thawing, and who knows what the reasons are for that. But that would be great. I mean, that's always been one of the Achilles heels of Apple TV, I feel like, and it's not a big one. I don't think that there are, in my experience anyways, working in people's homes, Amazon Video was not one of the more popular ones. It was really Netflix and, iTunes movies and things like that. But the fact that you can now get Amazon Prime, or hopefully in Q3 we'll be able to get Amazon Prime Video on an Apple TV is clearly a big win for consumers. And so we'll look forward to seeing if that shakes out. But let's shift gears here. We're going to talk a little bit about HomeKit, DIY, home automation stuff, IoT stuff here before we get into our interview with Sean from Point Central. And one of the first stories we wanted to touch on is an opinion piece. Again, this is another one from 9to5 Mac by Ben Lovejoy over there. And he wrote about his HomeKit woes and making some suggestions about how people could, help alleviate some of these pain points, or how Apple could alleviate some of these pain points associated with the current product. And so, some of the things he talked about there are still cost, which I always think is a little bit funny coming from that professional background and that high-end background. When I hear people talk about, $4,000 to $8,000 being a really high price point to outfit a quote average home, I'm not conditioned to think of that as a high number, but I have to step.
Is that the pre-wire?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. But I have to step back from that, right? Because I think about it from my own wallet, and $4,000 is in fact a lot of money still to most people. So he talked about that. Some of the other things we'll jump into here: product design and reliability, and then he made a few suggestions. And I thought this was a great piece, thoughtfully done, and clearly somebody who's spending the time to think through this and not just sort of throwing things out there to badmouth HomeKit just for the sake of it.
Yeah, thoughtfully done is probably the best way to describe the article. He's not out to bash anybody. The things that he complains about are. Funny enough, the three things that he kind of went through that I pulled from this article were cost, the product design, kind of how things work in unexpected ways. The example that he gives is using smart light bulbs like Philips Hue. If you go to a light switch and turn it off, guess what? They don't work. And that's kind of one of those product design things that really should have been worked out when Philips made the Philips Hue. And then the other one was reliability. I don't even have to give an example on this. I mean, Jason, you and I know that these things don't always work. You have Wi-Fi issues, you have random reasons they just decide not to work. I used to make fun of our control systems and say, oh, there's just ghosts in the machines, and kind of give that iRobot quote, and with a home automation slant to it. But I don't know. Cost, product design, reliability. These three things seem extremely familiar to me. It's something that you and I run into in a system that probably costs 10 to 100 times more, and has been a long running complaint about home automation products. So I did think his three suggestions to kind of getting this stuff working a little bit better. Initial setup being a lot easier. He gave a couple examples that, kind of make sense, but all in all, I think HomeKit it kind of blew me away that he said that, but I think HomeKit, when I set up the little iDevice thing I have and the Ecobee thermostat that I have, it's probably the easiest install I've ever done. I mean, and it was the fastest by far. I just had to tap on the screen on my phone a couple times and it worked. Firmware updates should happen in the middle of the night. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. Firmware updates are very important, though. We've seen security related things happen all the time, and over the past couple of months, it's been a big issue. So I would like to see firmware updates still, and if they happen in the middle of the night, that's perfectly fine. And he said Apple needs to put. I thought this one was interesting, and you tell me what you think about it. Apple needs to put together complete home packages for both homeowners and developers. And in this context, developers actually means builders at this point, because he's talking about the big home builders that are setting up these things. What do you think about that? Apple getting into the system design business?
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I get his sentiment. I understand where he's coming from, but well, I don't know. Let me back that up a little bit. When you word it like that, yes, system design, they're not necessarily going to be like going through that, sitting down, customizing solutions, talking it through with a homeowner, figuring out what they need, what's their budget. This is the role of a home technology specialist, or, perhaps a builder, as we've talked about, and we talked about on last week's show. I do see a potential maybe for Apple to get into just, selling packages on the Apple Store. Like, here's your starter pack for lighting control and, whatever else it is. But beyond that, I think they'll keep it pretty basic. But like I said, I thought his suggestions were good. I think it is good for people like myself. I know when I read these stories, like I alluded to at the beginning of this one, it keeps me in that perspective, because I think coming from the professional install market where systems can easily cost 20 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand, we start to lose sight of what the day-to-day, DIY end user consumer is looking for and thinking about. So I enjoyed reading the article, and we'll keep an eye on how things develop for him moving forward as he hopefully continues to blog about it here. But let's jump into one more story here before we get into our interview. And this is Rayco. I'm actually not sure how to pronounce the name of this company, Seth. I don't know if you are, but you brought the story to the table. I'm going to let you talk about it, but I think you may need to make sure that you've got the bell dusted off.
Yeah. So this Rayco company is more popular over in the EMEA markets, over in UK, Africa, but they are developing, or they have a very simple post, and it's probably like 10 words long, saying a new hub is coming. Yay! Thank you. That will integrate with Apple HomeKit, Amazon, If This Then That, and Google Home. So that's big news. I think we're finally starting to see, like, there was another Heat Miser, which is a huge HVAC control company overseas. We have plenty of thermostat options here in the state, and overseas, there's like most of them are like 2-wire thermostats. So very different control options, very different systems. I mean, a lot of them are the split unit systems where each different room has its own HVAC system installed. So this is good news for HomeKit, especially since people are really investing in the platform. I'm gonna say we have one more article to kind of cover, because I alluded to it earlier. Is this one from the Internet of Poo? And evidently, I have to say poo now, because I'm a father.
I forgot about the poo reference.
Yes. But kind of blasting, not really. I don't know. So this Internet of Poo guy, I can't say the other word because I'm a father now, and evidently I'm only supposed to name things poo now. Don't want our daughter picking anything up.
It's so true.
So the title of the story is "Even Apple Can't Make the Internet of Things Tolerable." And he's got a couple of good points. He or she, I'm not sure. It's kind of an anonymous internet account that kind of goes through and trolls the dumb products that we decide to put smarts into. But they kind of go through and kind of take little pot shots at Apple and what they're doing. And I don't think it's fair in general to take pot shots at these companies right now. We are still very much in the early adoption phase of these types of products. And one of his biggest gripes is HomeKit is great, but you're going to get married to Apple from the beginning. If you install the $4,000 to $8,000 of stuff that we're talking about, you're married to only using iOS devices to control it. And, I understand that, but that's been a complaint about Apple products for so long. I think it's just old hat at this point. Like if you buy something with an Apple logo on it, you know that it's only going to really work with the Apple stuff. And I don't think that is a great point to stand on. If the manufacturer wants to support more devices, they're perfectly within their means to do so. And we see that from the Rayco story. We see that from the Ecobee story a couple last week, where they're able to support HomeKit and Google Home and Amazon and If This Then That. So I think the prudent thing is to realize we're just in early adoption with all this stuff. We're not exactly we're all still kind of learning, believe it or not. Even though, Jason, you and I have been installing this stuff for a decade or more, we're all still learning about how this product ends up in the hands of the mass market. And I got to say, even in its state right now, this stuff is ready for the mass market, because it does work, and it's fairly inexpensive. And I think that we're seeing this line up even with all this, people like this guy who are just kind of trolling off to the side, even with the things that they're kind of grumbling about. At the end of the day, you spend a few $100s, you spend a few $1,000s, and you have a working home automation system. That's way better than you were even a decade ago when I first started doing, Control 4 stuff. Like, you were paying $30,000 or $40,000 for a complete system then. I mean, I don't want to keep going back to money, but heck, the systems that are coming out now for HomeKit work just as well, if not better, than what we were putting in back then. And it's only going to exponentially get better. So I don't like these types of stories that kind of push HomeKit or any other platform down simply for trying. It just seems counterproductive to me. I enjoy some of the things this guy tweets out, or girl. I have no idea what the sex of the person is, but I don't know. So at some point it's just trolling, and I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, no, I know there's a fine line between critiquing and trolling, I think, in this case. And I get it. I've followed that account. I know, familiar with the work they do. And I read this story and thought there were a few valuable points in there, but some of it also I thought was a little bit, I don't know, I guess stating the obvious. And I do think that at a certain point, we do have to give HomeKit and technologies like this a little bit of slack because we are early. But at the same time, I do think that article and the other one that we talked about from 9 to 5 Mac, both point to the fact that these technologies still have a long ways to go, and that people need to be aware of that when they enter that market and they go to shop for these technologies. If they're imagining them, you just plug them in and they just magically work and they continue to work indefinitely. That's just not the reality. And a lot of us that have been around the smart home for a long time may know that, but we forget that consumers might not, and they believe what they see in marketing commercials. And so I think that there is some danger there in the smart home, and hopefully that'll shake out. That'll shake out over time. But without further ado here, Seth, why don't we get into our interview here with Sean Miller? Again, Sean is from Point Central, interesting company providing smart home solutions and home automation solutions to property managers in both the short-term and long-term rental market. And so we really enjoyed our conversation with Sean and hope you do as well. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Hey, Sean, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Doing great. We appreciate you taking the time to join us here on the Home Tech Podcast, and we look forward to jumping in and talking all about Point Central. But before we do that, why don't you give our listeners just a little bit of a personal introduction and maybe talk about some of your industry background as well?
Yeah. So Sean Miller. Before I joined Point Central, I actually ran global sales and business development for Wemo, which was Belkin's home automation business unit. And before that, spent time with a company called Generac in a couple different roles. Generac's a manufacturer of standby power generators, and had one role that's very technology focused there, where I launched an internal startup that connected our generators to the internet and to our dealers. And so that was sort of, that brought my personal passion of electronics into my professional career, and I've sort of been able to build work in my passion since then.
Great. Now you're with Point Central. What is your official title there? And give us the short version of what your day-to-day looks like.
Yeah. So official title, I'm the president of Point Central. So day-to-day is getting to work with a great team and really just working in this exciting home automation industry where there's always lots to do, and it's figuring out what are the right things that we should be spending our time on.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we've mentioned it a couple of times, so let's jump right in and talk about Point Central. And we always like to start these interviews with sort of the elevator pitch. Give us the short version. What is Point Central all about?
Yeah, so Point Central is the leader in enterprise scale home automation for property managers. We're a division of Alarm.com, and essentially what we did was we built a vertical solution of home automation for property managers that allows them to not only offer it as a service to delight their tenants, but also realize benefits themselves from the home automation.
Got it. Very cool. And so you mentioned property managers. Maybe give us couple of specific examples. I know property managers work in a lot of different vertical markets. So what are some of the common customer types or vertical markets that you serve at Point Central?
Yep. So we serve two primary verticals today. In the short-term rental market, we work with professional vacation rental property managers. So these are people, if say you're out on the coast of North Carolina and you rented a house for a week, they're the people that manage homes in that area, or homes in Aspen, et cetera. So very common vacation destinations where people are looking for alternatives to traditional hotels. And then in the long-term rental market, we work with managers and owners of people who rent out single-family homes. So homes typically rented for a year or longer.
Right. It sounds like the market I'm in here exactly. In Sarasota, Florida, people like to rent out vacation homes for weeks, months at a time, and then also, we have just condos on the beach being rented out for the weekend and that kind of thing. So, sounds like something I'm very familiar with. Let's talk about hardware. If I was to go out and purchase a Point Central system, what exactly am I looking at getting?
So a core Point Central system that we install for customers today compromises three things. It compromises our hub, which is our cellular gateway, then also typically involves our thermostat and a door lock. One of the benefits we have is being part of Alarm.com is there's a wide variety of hardware potentially available after that. But for our verticals, those three things sort of drive both tenant happiness the most, as well as some of the core benefits to the property manager.
Gotcha. And you mentioned the core benefits there to a property manager. And so I think that's an interesting place to jump in, because as anyone who has listened to the show knows, we spend a lot of time talking about home automation, but we're typically talking about that as a one home, one user type of environment. This is your permanent home or semi-permanent home, or who knows, maybe you're even renting, but you're the actual renter, right? And you brought this equipment in. And so we're talking about here is something different, where you're actually selling these solutions and making that value proposition to a property manager. And so talk specifically about that. I know keyless entry looked like one of the big categories that you guys are selling based on the research I did coming into this, and talk about some of the core benefits or the unique benefits in the property management market that really drive people towards using a solution like yours.
Yeah. So core benefits today rest in two major categories. One is access management. And so that is, getting rid of keys. Keys themselves are a major pain point for property managers. They're getting stolen, lost, copied, etc. So just removing that pain point is valuable to them. But also you can think of the experience. So someone in a short-term rental who maybe just drove several hours out to a vacation home can now go right to their home that may be several miles away from the property management office, go right to that home. They've already been pre-sent a code. When they punch the code in, they're able to get into the house. The house notifies the property manager that they're there. When they leave, they punch a code in. It now notifies the property manager that they've left and checked out. They can send in the inspector. They can send in the maid, and everything can happen sort of on a much more educated fashion than simply hoping someone checks out on time and then having people drive around and check things on a more reactive schedule. The other major bucket is savings, and savings tend to fall into some of the operational savings I attributed to the access management, but also think of HVAC savings, right? So you can make sure a unit, when it's unoccupied, say if a maid went in to do cleaning and happened to, on a warm Florida summer day, crank the AC down a little bit, the property manager has the ability to roll out enterprise settings so the thermostats keep themselves in a more neutral area and save money for the owner and the property manager.
Definitely see value there, and that makes a lot of sense. Talk about, you alluded to it there generally in a couple of different contexts, and basically what this seems to come down to is a layer of business intelligence, right? There is the convenience aspect of not having to worry about losing a key or physically delivering a key to somebody. But there's also a lot of intelligence that can come with these sort of solutions in terms of knowing who's coming and going and when they're coming and going. What are some of the types of insights, in your opinion, that your customers are really benefiting from by using a PointCentral system?
So some of the insights around just time management, knowing if whether it's a third-party vendor or an employee, if they visit a house to do work, et cetera, how long they're there for, right? Could be just a measure time spent on certain activities. Could be if there's ever an incident and say someone renting the home had a concern, you could go back and there's event logs for every access, and you can see who accessed what property, when, and where. There's also the evolving part of some of the smart analytics that us being a part of Alarm.com, we get to offer really beginning stages of what we see as rich data. So things like our thermostat can look at an area and know that it's summertime. Again, you're in Florida. We know the property's unoccupied at this time. So it's keeping the temperature at a certain stage, but also can sense humidity and go, maybe I need to turn the thermostat on to run the HVAC for an hour just to remove humidity from the air to prevent mold growth. So
wow.
That's another example of just some of the smarts that we think the automations bring into the property manager.
Wow, that is really smart. You mentioned I'm on your website right now, and you mentioned that you're in with Alarm.com. The app that you have looks very similar. So I don't know if anybody listening is familiar with the Alarm.com interface. Your app, and it looks like Apple Watch app and all that, looks very similar to what you would get if you were using Alarm.com. Do you tie in with any maybe of the security aspects of Alarm.com, or you don't have much call for that in the rental market?
Yeah, so good point. As a subsidiary, we look to leverage core technologies with Alarm.com when they deliver a best-in-class experience. And Alarm's been, obviously really good at providing user access through good apps and mobile apps, et cetera. So we do leverage that to offer our PointCentral solutions. A key differentiator of PointCentral from what a traditional Alarm.com security dealer offer is the fact that we do not offer monitored security. We think that's a service that's better offered when you have that one-to-one relationship between a security dealer and a homeowner, and you can set up expectations and they understand the benefits and maybe limitations of that type of system versus a home automation system can be rolled out a little more broadly and explained easier, and also provides that layer of benefits that we talked about.
Right. So, and I guess in a rental, it really doesn't make too much sense to have like a full Berg security system set up, but I suppose they could. Do you integrate at all with that, or is it just you're basically sticking to access control and the climate control?
Oh, what we can provide to property managers is, say, property awareness. So if they want to put on a door contact sensor, or they want to put on, we have an image motion sensor. If they do have Wi-Fi and they want to put on a doorbell cam or an exterior cam, they can do those, and they're accessible through our system. But we do not offer a monitored security solution.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And this is using Z-Wave, right?
Correct. All of our devices connect to Z-Wave, or mostly all of our devices are Z-Wave, and then the cameras connect through Wi-Fi or Ethernet. Interesting.
Do you have any plans to? I know Alarm.com integrates with some lighting control solutions like Z-Wave lighting and possibly Lutron. Are you guys looking at that maybe down the road, where the property manager could say turn off all the lights after someone has left?
Yeah, we actually, again, by being built on that Alarm.com platform, we are able to leverage the hardware integrations that Alarm offers to its customers today. We're able to bring those into our system.
Got it. And so I actually just want to zoom out a little bit on the Z-Wave conversation and just get your quick take on the decision to leverage Z-Wave. In this day and age, there are a growing number of standards and protocols that can be used. And so I'm curious to know where PointCentral stands on that in terms of why was that decision made to really go all in on Z-Wave?
Yeah, so Jason, I'm probably going to fail you in my response here. that is one I can't give you much background into because that decision was made before my time, but I can tell you that it's been, Alarm.com started with Z-Wave when they first started looking at home automation, and it just generally remained dedicated to that path. And again, since we built off that platform, we remain dedicated to that path.
Yeah. And I figured that the answer may go along those lines. And presumably when that decision was made back when it was, Z-Wave, we've had Mitch Klein on from Z-Wave, and I very much understand the value proposition of a technology like that. It's very vendor agnostic, easy to integrate with, wide ecosystem. So a lot of benefits there. I just thought it would be interesting to get your take. Speaking of technology decisions, and I don't know if this is another one that kind of predates you or not, but one of the things I saw messaged fairly heavily on the website was the decision to use cellular technology instead of Wi-Fi or IP. And so talk about that decision and what some of the benefits are to basing your system on cellular technology.
Yeah. So Alarm.com originally based themselves off cellular with the premise of it prevented burglars from cutting your POTS line into the house. When we emerged and we were looking at our solution, we doubled down on cellular because we thought not only do you have that benefit of it's a secure line or a consistent line in, but reliability is really important to a property manager, especially when they're basing operational activities off the data that can come off these devices. So knowing that one of our hubs goes in, plugs in, boots up to the cellular network, and can maintain a reliable connection to make sure that data comes out, carries a lot of weight for our customers. There's also a security aspect. Again, being part of Alarm.com with the millions of customers we have today, that allows us to have direct relationships with the carriers and provide a level of service through cellular that we think is unmatched. So really helps us provide a secure and reliable connection.
That makes sense. I'm sure you guys get this question a lot. Do you run into concerns or challenges in areas related to cellular coverage? And if you do you have solutions for that, or are there just certain areas where maybe the cell coverage is just so bad that it may not be something you guys can provide, like in a rural area, for instance?
So we install, as you can imagine, there's a good amount of especially short-term vacation rentals in rural areas when people are looking to get away. And to be honest, we have really good track record of being able to still get our systems up and running. Our systems aren't huge bandwidth users. Again, the cameras aren't on the system. They do use Wi-Fi or Ethernet. So the devices we're using have low data needs, not constant stream. So if we're in a coverage that has maybe spotty cell phone coverage for a voice call, we can still typically get enough coverage to have our data packets sent back and forth and still provide a reliable solution.
Okay. Let's talk just for a second. We alluded to the software and the intelligence layer a little bit, but why don't you give us just a quick overview of what that looks like? I know you've got an enterprise dashboard, again, that you talk about on the website. And so if I'm a property manager and I'm leveraging the PointCentral solution, what sort of presentation of the information am I looking at?
So in our dashboard, when a property manager logs in, the first view they get is the ability to see all their properties and to have a quick status check. So depending on if you're a short-term or long-term renter, the status shown to you is slightly different because you care about different things. But if we take the vacation rental, for example, you'll see, hey, it's Thursday, Friday, tomorrow's my big check-in day. So when I look at my dashboard, I want to know, are my homes all cleaned and ready to go? And if a property is not flashed as cleaned, you can click in to see, has someone been there and just not finished the job? Is someone there now? Do I need to call the manager and see what's going on? So it allows you to, again, get access to, is your business ready to run from a quick and easy dashboard. Same thing also if a guest, say, happened to check in and then, somehow forgot stuff in the house or couldn't remember a code, you have the ability to log into the dashboard and have it resend them a password, resend them a login, et cetera. So you can manage everything you need to from right there. For certain partners that also leverage other services to manage their reservations, we do integrate with the all the leading providers of that data. So they can also automatically have check-ins roll into our system. The codes are automatically generated, sent out to customers. Codes automatically expire on checkout date. And then all the information also fed back into that property management system. So really helps streamline their business if they choose to use the integration, but also a fully capable dashboard on their own to see the status of their properties and manage what they need to.
Excellent. You actually answered my next question was going to be, how do you take care of bookings and integrating this into like your booking system, which is, it's really smart. That's a really smart idea. It's all automated and automatic. That's really cool. How does this get installed? If I, like I said, if I'm a property manager and I want to go out and get one of these for my couple of condos that we rent out at the beach here in Sarasota, how would the install look? Who installs this equipment? Is it the property manager, or do you have dealers that go out and take care of this for you?
So we don't have dealers. It's a mixture. So what we have is a property manager sometimes will use their in-house staff, maintenance staff, to go out and swap out locks and plug in hubs. But a good amount of time also they'll look to us for a recommendation. And so what we've sort of built is a list of preferred installers in markets, people that are familiar with our system and that we know sort of provide the quality experience that we're looking for the end customer to provide. It's not a service we try to bundle in, but just try to make sure at the end of the end customer is taken care of.
Excellent. It actually sounds pretty easy. And like you said, the maintenance staff seems more than capable to, swap out a lock here and there. That's what they do.
Yeah, they're used to doing it. As you can imagine, depending on the time of season and where things are at, sometimes they're busy. So we actually see a good amount of people look for our recommendation. Maybe it's just to do the first wave. Maybe it's because they're busy. But we're always looking. And I guess any of your listeners, they can visit our website and contact us. If anyone's ever got some interest in potentially, being an installer for us, we're happy to meet some.
Very good. Very good. So I want to ask a question from sort of a high level here. This is a unique interview for us in the sense that you're serving a very different market from the, I'm using air quotes here, traditional smart home or home technology landscape. Talk about what some of the unique challenges are maybe that you guys face dealing with what I saw on your website called multi-layered owners, which I thought was a good way to put it. When you're dealing with that type of market, you've got owners, people who are putting their hands on the technology, perhaps cycling a little bit more than in a traditional home environment. So what are some of the unique challenges there, and how does your technology help deal with those?
Yeah, so multi-layered owners, to just give a little bit of explanation, you can think about, you have a couple people that obviously are vested in this. You have the person renting the property, you have the property manager, and then in a lot of times the owner of the property is separate from the property manager. And so, providing what each of those are looking for can be a fun exercise, and sort of making sure that those use cases are delivered. And, if we go back to some of the buckets, the two buckets I mentioned where we see a lot of delivery, access management and just general savings, property managers tend to really look at that access management and understand the values there, because those are their people out there doing the work, or they're contracting the work. So any operational efficiencies they gain helps their business and they see a value for it. On the flip side, typically for a rental property, the owner's the one, if utilities are covered, the owner's typically the one paying for those utilities. So owners tend to look at, what are the savings you're driving me? You're helping me spend less on electricity. The humidity question, do I have to not spend money on, any type of, fix and repair because you're able to help me better maintain my asset, maintain my equipment. So, really we had to step back, and then I guess to the renter, they want to be able to walk in and make sure the technology, helps make their experience better. So again, am I able to check in without having to go to the office after just spending, several hours in a car? Do I see the technology as being desirable because I'm now in a house that, resonates? I like technology, and it's something I can interact with and enjoy more, and enjoy my vacation more, or enjoy my long-term rental more for. So, we had to really make sure and step back and look at our solution and say, at the end of the day, we needed the right hardware and the right software to be able to deliver to each of those customers what they're looking for, without, necessarily interfering with one or the other.
Interesting. I have this question and answer kind of made me think a little bit about the newer market in rental, like the Airbnb market. Does Point Central serve that particular niche, or is it something that's more driven towards the traditional property management, or somebody who's got a couple of more enterprise type commercial, I guess is what I want to say, commercial based business where you're renting out?
Yeah. So we started by working with the professional managers, right? People who were looking to leverage the enterprise scale. And to be honest, we've had a lot of interest come up from people who are managing smaller amounts of property, where maybe our assumption at first, if you're only managing 1, 2, or 5 properties, our assumption was maybe you didn't need the technology as much. But the reality is that, those people are starting to see the value of the technology we provide also. And so we're seeing sort of a natural growth of interest come from that market.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. Well, we're running up on our time here, and I've really enjoyed learning more about Point Central and some of the unique ways that you guys are looking at this market and verticals that you're serving. And personally, I love these stories. I think we spend a lot of time thinking about the smart home and home technology in general as fun and entertaining, and it is all of these things and convenient. But anytime that we can uncover one of these stories where this technology is being leveraged to really, drive business efficiencies, or just make people's lives really genuinely easier in a meaningful way, I love them. So I really enjoyed learning about what you guys are doing. As we close out our conversation here, tell us what's next. What is getting the team at Point Central excited these days?
Well, we are really excited about what you just described. We think we're really helping to bring the benefits that all of us, your listeners probably understand of home automation, bringing those benefits to those multi-layered owners in a truly great experience. And so we get excited when we just see the overall awareness of this industry growing, and more people discovering those benefits and allowing us to deliver that experience to them. We're also really excited about, again, given our ownership into Alarm.com, of the scale we have and how we get to leverage that scale to truly continue to provide more smarts to the system. So, if you pay attention over the next couple of months, I think you'll see we continue to leverage more and more things that as an enterprise system, we're able to learn from all these different devices out there and provide truly unique value to our customers.
Got it. That makes sense. Well, once again, we appreciate you taking the time to come on the show with us here this evening. And if anybody is listening and wanted to connect with you and learn a little bit more about the system, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Easiest way is on our website. You'll find our contact us. You'll find our phone number. Feel free to have anyone reach out and drop me a line. I'd be happy to talk to them.
Okay. And just for people listening, maybe driving around or anything like that, what is the URL?
Yes, the URL is PointCentral.com, all one word.
You got it. Sean, we really appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll look forward to connecting with you again sometime in the future.
Awesome. Seth, Jason, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate your time.
You got it. Take care.
Thanks, Sean.